My name is Anouk Wipprecht, and I'm a Dutch fashion tech designer, which means that I combine technology with fashion. So I use microcontrollers, and yeah, I do a little bit of these things. It's not always really handy to get that through the airport security, for example. Most of it I get taken out because people think it's bombs, for example. I need to tell them, no, it's actually dresses that do things. So yeah, I'm traveling around a lot. I work from different things, from my partner companies. I work with a lot of tech companies myself. I also work from maker spaces, from hacker spaces, everywhere where I can just call my home for a little bit. I work, and how I do that is by using my laptop to design, to program, and to communicate, my sewing machine to create, construct, and produce, and my soldering station or my little tech lab to construct, to compile, and to engineer. So what I make with that are dresses, mostly dresses. I should do more with boy design as well, but I hope that comes soon. Mostly I'm working together with a brand, like for example here, car company Audi. And Audi is coming up to me that they want to have, that they want to explore the notion of fashion and technology with their cars. And what I did is I took one of their cars and I basically hacked it. I used both the shapes, both the design elements from the car, and I put that in 3D printed dresses. I also used, for example, the high power LEDs that were in the car and also the parking sensors, and I put them in the dresses as well. So yeah, hacking the car and making dresses out of that. Fantastic. So what you see here is a dress that is running 60 watts high power LED. And as soon as you come near, these LEDs are blasting out. I did some things for car companies before and at car shows, like the bigger car shows. And what I don't like is how how females are being projected there. I saw a lot of girls in like sort of short, tight dresses, like sort of tigering over cars, and that was not something that I liked, and nor Audi. So so what I create with them is a really strong collection in where the girls are in control. They're not selling the car, they're drivers of the car, or they're entities with these cars, sort of. So that's a really cool project that Audi lets me play with. At the moment, these dresses are being produced in a collection of 14 dresses. At this moment in China, actually they're being shown 120 shows. So that is something that I really need to work towards. Always keep these things running, of course. So there's some challenges in that. So yeah, these are being at the moment being shown in China, in Shenzhen. At this point of time, and they're traveling around within Asia until November. So November is the time that I show the last dress, and it's the dress that I'm working on at the moment. Here you can see some of the developments. This dress that you see here up is not only lightning up, it also has 11 little motors in there, so it's pushing up. So it's the notion of these not only solid dresses, but they're also morphing, and they're morphing with their environment. Another dress that I made was the production map dress, which I showed a year ago at Audi City in Berlin, in which I wanted to create this dress, which is transforming, based a little bit on the VR things that they're doing in that space. So basically, while the models were walking, it's this full interactive show in which the designs are responding with their environment. Another thing that I recently did was getting into prosthetics a little bit more. One thing how I did that was with Victoria Modesta. She's a really badass girl in the music industry. She is having her leg removed, and we have been just trying to figure out what we could do with it. And the cool thing is that she let me play with her body in a way. So so instead of saying like, okay, that's so pity, you're missing a limb, actually we see it as a place that we can store a shitload of electronics. So that's really cool. So that's something that we're doing. Here you can see her spike leg. I'm busy with using an accelerometer in where instead of, for example, we have our feet, and you cannot really have that much acceleration. I see her spike as a ballerina, a shoe, like she can point, and by that I can create an acceleration, a movement in which she can control. For example, here she has the smoke leg, in which she can control sound and visuals around her. So other than her having a band and having those things, she is actually, by the use of this prosthetic, which I'm building with her now, able to steer music and visuals around her. So that is a cool project according to music. Another thing that, recording to music, when I first came to the States, I got invited to this thing and I got a call to make something for a big sports game. And I didn't not know the Super Bowl at that time. It was like 2011. And they said something like, okay, yeah, it's for the Black Eyed Peas and it's like a big sports game. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's make something. I did not know that was like the biggest football game in America ever, sort of. So that was pretty funny. Me coming here and like sort of welcome to America. So it was I don't know. I still don't know what to think of that. But it was cool. It was like a roller coaster. So what they asked me to do was to create something for Fergie of the Black Eyed Peas, which you can see here. They wanted me to create a little bit a sexy dress, sort of. What I told them is I'm not going to make a sexy dress. Instead, I was looking at these plates from the football players themselves, and I wanted to introduce them in the silhouette. So what I did was I was doing a lot of like research how I could do that. One thing is the Super Bowl is really bright, sort of. So I needed to create something that was pretty bright as well. So together with Tom Tellman in Los Angeles, we created this shield. It's high power LEDs, and there's also Swarovski crystals, and they're actually functioning as heatsink. And that is the dog. It was like really big help. This dog was amazing. But yeah, so these Swarovskis, they were functioning as heat sinks. So I was looking at the notion of like instead of having these bulky heat sinks, which are not really sexy, to use actually the Swarovski crystals and the layered surface in order to cool these LEDs down. Also shoes with optic fiber, so it's Luminex, which I was using in at that time. That was 2011. So here you can see some of the development. The shoe was higher. I made a little bit a fake ankle in there to make the shape go a little bit more steep. In the end, you see the left one that I produced was a little bit lower because 2 weeks prior they told me that they were gonna walk on grass. So I made it a little bit lower. So here you can see the shoes, which she was wearing there. And this is a little video of the piece on stage. So this was the first time that I came to America. So it was like, yeah. So what you can see is like it was really bright, so it was really visible. So these high power LEDs, like you could really see sort of. So that was the win. So that was the good part. She had the little battery packs under her shoulder blades. She was able to bounce with it and like jump as she does. And that was terrifying. So. Moving on. So I was doing a lot in 2011 with the entertainment industry. Like we did some things for other like celebrity bands as well. A little bit the problem that I had there was I was making stuff sort of, but the people there didn't want to have the conversation with me about technology, the poetics, or the symbiosis that you can create by having technology connected on your body, to your body, and also towards the surroundings. And this is one of the reasons that later on I moved to San Francisco, because there a little bit were the people that were actually interested in that talk. So this is a little bit of my research, and I started this like 10 years ago when I graduated my school. What I see fashion to be is, for me, fashion is something else than we're wearing garments, sort of garments we wear because we want to be sheltered, because otherwise we're naked. We want to feel safe, we want to feel warm and all that stuff. But fashion has something different. Like for me, fashion is about expression and about communication. And this is something that I found very analog and that I want to make interactive and digital. So by doing so, I was looking at these spaces that we have around the body. For example, the intimate space, the personal space, the social space, and the public space that we all have around us. And I was also looking at, for example, our machines and our robots. Like I started with fashion design when I was young, so really fashion design, couture, and tailoring. But I also liked robots. So when I was 17 or 18, I actually started to work with robots. What I did not like about fashion was that it was analog. What I did not like about robots and robotics was that they were standing next to you, sort of the R2D2, or like living with you. I wanted to project these robots on the body, but not in a human sense, sort of. So I was looking at other things. I was looking at biomimicry and animals, and how animals are behaving and misbehaving in their space, and how they are, for example, are sometimes defensive or happy or like whatever emotion they have, sort of. And my robots that I want to, the robots that I want to place on the body, I didn't want them to look like humans. I want to create a more intuitive nature for it. For example, this is one of my products. Based on squid. If it's getting defensive, it pushes out this cloud of ink and it's diving away. So I created a smoke dress. So this is having a lot of intonations. I started with a drip ink system with like CO2, and from there on it went further. So these designs are not only created like one time, for example. I create something and they live with me. As soon as I have a new technology at hand, I nurture it, I put it in my designs, and these designs live with me like babies. So this is one of my babies. I have 36 babies, so I have a big family. But this is one of the dresses that is dear to me, because for me it's a little bit about an emotion, about the emotion of shyness and diving away. So as soon as you walk up to this dress, it has sensors implemented, and as soon as more people come closer to this dress, it's creating a smoke facade. So it's almost like you can dive away. For me, this is the poetics of technology and the body that I wanted to talk about, what I tried to explain you before. So this is some of the developments in Maya. So searching for the space, the perfect placement of, for example, the smoke to come out in the hip area, creating a spare, creating a space so that the smoke comes out, being pushed around and being pushed out. So you're really thinking of how to animate, for example, the smoke. Also the materiality. This is, for example, which I'm printing is a TPU. So it's a thermoplastic polyurethane, which is a flexible print. So other than having like the dress, this is one of the first dresses that I built in 3D, having it really to be like a shell, I try to search ways that it could be a little bit more comfortable, that you can use instead of a plastic or rubber and all that stuff. The technique that I'm using is selective laser sintering. So other than that, you guys might know, who's not really into 3D printing, 3D printing from the bottom up. The pieces that I print are actually laser sintered. So here you can see the big box of epoxy or the whatever, like I'm using PA12 or like TPU, and you have a CO2 laser beam. So basically your file, it's materializing exactly the parts that you want it to materialize. So rather than having a 3D print, a plastic being built up from down, this is actually materializing layers in a big box of powder. So basically, if I take out one of my dresses, spider dress or the smoke dress, all the powder falls off and you have your shape. You don't have any support material. So for example, the complex architecture that I'm using, this is the way that I can create these more complex shapes. So this is a little bit of the detailing, and this dress was in 2012. So you see the back piece. Mostly I try to both cover the electronics. I like to show them off a little bit because I think they're pretty and they're cool, and I try to stylize it as much as possible. So the other thing is, so this is a little bit about like how your design is functioning with its surroundings. The other thing is what I'm doing is I couple the designs also to the body, because I think that it should not be the machine in control, the system in control, or the body in control. It should be a co-control, a co-symbiosis between the wearer and the surroundings, sort of. So I like to see what it can do with the wireless biosignals. And how I do that, for example, this is my ideal wireless bio data signal capturing system, in where I'm just like, try to explore all these sensors, not always at a time. This is my ideal metabolic system, of course. But I always take, like, for example, I connect the respiration or the EEG or temperature or heart rate or heart volume to one of the designs, and I see how they can react to the environment, because otherwise things become a tool, and I don't want that. I want all my designs, all my babies, sort of to do something else and explore something else. And by that, I'm making a case study. So every design for me, so now 36 dresses are case studies for me, in where I can tell about the connection between this set of sensors, this microcontroller, and this output, and also the reaction to that, sort of. So other than me making things to wear for an audience, which will come in the future, I'm sure, I'm really seeing them as case studies, in where I really can explain, well, this happens when this and that, and that's a part of interaction design that I just really like. So for example, one of the tests that I did was with Intel 2 years ago. So I'm partially working with Intel. Here I used their Intel Edison, and I tried to connect the head. So I had an EEG that I customized myself using a hacked NeuroSky at the time, so a more commercial device. I'm using medical EEG at the moment because I can get much more data out of it and much more correct data. But this was me playing around for the first time with using EEG, or actually EMG. And a little camera in the front. So basically what happened was there were lights in the front, so it was as an indicator. And as my model Whitney was focusing and having an attention for something, the little camera in the front went on, and it was recording everything that was happening in front of her. So me being behind my computer, I could see exactly she was meeting a friend, she was eating something that she liked, or she met somebody that she didn't like, or whatever was going on. So for me, this dress is really important because it let me trace exactly who was in her surroundings, what was happening, and also some of her data that I could capture, sort of. So that was an important a dress that I used as a sort of a research entity. So going back to the notion of fashion, I don't only want to use it really in a medical sense, sort of. The other thing what I try to do is gamifying fashion as much as possible. If you see one of my designs, I want it to be understood by a little boy who is 4 years old, but also by my grandmother or my granddad. And I think in interaction design, then you would have something that's really well designed. If it's understandable, even if a person walks up to it, like, don't come close, you know, whether that is in design or in interaction. So one of the things that I'm doing is I try to engineer a lot of fun in my designs, and call that a little bit like gamifying fashion, in a notion which is between, for example, for this project, between the medical and the fashionable. I was working on the topic of ADHD, what you saw with my former dress. So it's the notion of you have EEG, your brain signals are being triggered, and the camera goes on, sort of. And that came for me as a really interesting proposition, using this camera, and as soon as your attention is striking, this camera would go on and it would be recording something. Other than me just being behind this dress and monitoring the dress and what was happening, I want to create really a product that might be able to help somebody. What I did was I created a little unicorn horn, because unicorns are awesome, of course. And I put a little camera in there. So this is the early prototype. So it's a little camera, and what I want to do is working with kids with ADHD. Instead of like all these medicine that we always throw at people, I think that's really like synthetic and bad. I wanted to create a fashion statement or a fashion accessory that would be able to help somebody better understand themselves, instead of giving them medicine to shut them off or to make their emotions behave in a different way, like from a more synthetic behavior by the use of medicine. So what I did was I created this unicorn horn at Ars Electronica, where I was doing a residency at that time. And it's based on the Intel Edison, so I use that within the horn. I'm also having another horn using the RealSense, which I'm busy with at the moment. But the main horn just has a little camera. And other than seeing me working with kids with ADHD, for example, this is just, you type in EEG kids, like this is a 1020 system of like medical EEG. And it's pretty horrible, sort of like what I find, sort of. And I just wanted to try to find a way to make that more fashionable, but also more fun. Because if these kids are being measured in a white room, they sometimes have cameras on top of them to measure them out. And they need to wear this 1020 system, for example, to generate the data for the doctors to see what is happening. And the last thing is they're being asked to be a child. And I do not think that you can be a child when you're just being sort of quantified like that. What I wanted to do is, other than just using the 1020 system, I knew that I only needed a certain area of the head and the brain, which is actually a mohawk and 6 electrodes on the back of the head. So I was trying to see how the P300, which I want to measure, I could do without this whole head cap, and actually embed it in a fashionable wearable with a little camera in there. So basically what it does is, instead of just having to be monitored, this device is actually monitoring what is in front of them. So again, the camera goes on whenever their attention is spiking. And for me that is important to what I say, not only measure what needs to be measured, but the fact that they are you can bring them a certain awareness of, hey, you're spiking because of this. Do you understand that? And you are giving these kids a little bit more knowledge on how their brain is working, and a little bit more understanding of themselves. And the cool thing is working with kids, they're actually really tech savvy, and they really want to know how their brain works and how all of this this goes towards, sort of. And the main thing regarding to freedom is that these kids walk in and they can collect their unicorn horn themselves and putting it on themselves, you know. So it also gives them the freedom and the possibility to go into this exploration of themselves, not being like measured in a medical situation, but more by having the play going on. So actually letting them to be the child that is being asked from them. Going back to these spaces, so that was just a notion of like sort of how I try to solve certain things in a more creative way and in a more playful way. The other thing that I'm doing is also regarding to these spaces that I already said: the intimate space, the personal space, social space, public space. All my dresses are nurturing something else. So yeah, the social distance would be the smoke dress. The dress that I'm going to show you a little bit later is about the public space. The dress that I'm showing you now is about the personal space. It's a dress, and it might be my most famous dress because it's just really misbehaving at all times. And basically what the dress is doing is monitoring what is happening in front of them. Again, these spaces that we have, this is based on a theory of Edward T. Hall, who in the 60s was measuring, he was traveling through different cultures and seeing that everybody was behaving in a different way regarding to like cultural differences or how they just act towards each other. What he did in the 60s, he made a measurement or a diagram, which later on became the theory of proxemics, so the proximity theory. And where he did that by a stock and measuring things out more intuitively, we are actually now able with sensors, with pretty simple sensors, to measure out these spaces again and to really all the time monitor and check these spaces. So this is how my system is working regarding to like sensing presence and sensing the proxemics, and also how I monitor everybody walking up to my designs and research how different people are interacting with different systems. So again, mounting back to looking at animals, the next dress that you're going to see is explaining itself in this little movie.
Black Widow edition of Weird Planet. Now, I don't know about you, but some people really have issues with personal space, right?
Really?
So if you get too close, I would be wearing a dress like this. Take a look. This is a robotic spider dress.
Yep, 6 robotic limbs protrude from a black dress, crawling around your body. There are 6. We know spiders have 8 legs, but it's a dress. Get over it.
Yes, it's a collaboration between fashion designer Anouk Wipprecht and software engineer Daniel Schatzmeier. It's this wearable dress that's equipped with sensors that interact with the people around you. If they get too close, those legs will come out and just push them away.
Yeah, so it's not just weird legs moving around randomly, like if you strapped a giant 6-legged spider to your back.
Hey, I would love to wear that dress at a bar.
Yeah, I don't know how that would go over for you, because the people who would come up to talk to you might not be the people that you're most excited to talk to back. I mean,
Right.
you might really need it for the personal space thing.
No, exactly. It would be fun.
So yeah, so this is a project that I started because you're a creator and like you're making stuff and then you're making more stuff, sort of. Me and a friend of mine, we just came out of a project that we did, a more commercial project, and we were sitting on the couch and there was this game and it's called Limbo. And I know, like, who of you guys have heard of Limbo? Amazing. Okay, if you haven't, like, it's called Limbo, Limbo, and it's amazing. So just download it and play it. But it's about this boy in a shadow world, and the boy is moving through the space, and basically he's getting bitten and getting killed at all times. So you need to move this boy like really gently through this space, sort of. But there's also a really big spider in there. And the friends like Daniel, who showed me this game, like we were just sitting on the couch, and we were like, wow, that is such a cool like the sense. The boy was coming up to the spider, and the spider tried to stab it, sort of. That is a little bit where this dress came from that game, and the notion of this sensible being. You only see the spider leg, sort of like really just like trying to sneak in, sort of. But that is how this dress came about. inspired by the game Limbo that you guys all should download. I'm not working for them, so it's really from free will, but it's really an awesome game. I think it's my favorite. So from that on, I got a possibility 2 years ago. I was working for Intel, and they had the Intel Edison, which is a micro computer, a really small computer, which you can see here, that I wanted to coin at wearables. And I get a lot of, like, I'm a hardware hacker sort of, so a lot of companies that I work with, they give me stuff and I build stuff. And I build stuff, like these dresses, and I give them a feedback report. So basically by me making stuff, I can give them that feedback report. So this is also something that we did with Intel. They gave me this microcontroller, and instead of redeveloping something new, I actually took this dress that I made from plexiglass out of it, and I got the opportunity to recreate it, because it was at that time, it was one of my smartest, most intelligent dresses that I could think of that might need more processing power and that might need to have more behavior. So yeah, so based on the Intel Edison, I was starting to design with my team like some of how that could look like. So again, like I am an interaction designer. So if you look at design, for example, this dress, I wanted to give you a psychological thrill, and if you interact with it, it does, sort of, you know. So then I thought, like, you have it right. So the design is actually pretty complex. Most of it is done in Rhino. So in here you can see how the design is being conformed around the body. Looking at plastic, for example, of course, like I'm printing in plastic, better make it pretty comfortable, but also architecture-wise, I want to get the complexity that I wanted to get out of there, while still conforming to the body. So here you can see some early research on how that went. There was a lot of problems regarding to printing. I use here Magic software by Materialize, my 3D printing company in Belgium, and it's basically an STL checker. So a lot of back and forth regarding to design, a lot of testing, sort of. And here you can see me working at Intel on the mechanism. So basically what the dress is doing is it has two sensors in the front, under the chin, and as soon as you come into the personal space, it's attacking, which is really handy. So here you can see it. So it's full mechatronic design. It is based on respiration sensor in the waist area. So the dress is reacting to people coming by. It's not reacting in one state only. It's reacting in something that I designed and programmed. It's called, for me, the 12 states of behavior. So in a way, not only having a dress just coming out to grab you, depending on how you interact with this dress, where you are in space, how fast you walk up, it's choosing between 12 states of behavior. So if you walk up very slowly, the dress is just like sort of more, making this dancey movement. Whether if you walk up very fast, it's really going into an attack mode and really sort of pinches your eyes out. If you stay a little bit too far away, it actually goes up and it does a sort of na 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 na. So I really like that one because it's like sort of provoking. So other than thinking of a system that is just cool and just like attacks one time, I really wanted to create basically the notion of, for example, if you walk up to a cat, it gives you a claw, you know. And then I think of humans, like if sometimes if I would walk up to a person or a person would walk up to me, I choose to stay uncomfortable because that is the rules, and that is because we're humans. Yeah, you're not able to be like a cat sort of. And then I'm thinking like, why not, you know? Or if you would have a system that would be indicating and doing these things for you. So it's a little bit about personal space and about these provocations sort of. That I wanted to create a spider dress with the looks of a spider and the behavior of a cat. So that's what that is. And for me, that's important because, like, not only thinking of fashion and how we can interface with the world around us, seeing it as an interface, but also how that interface then becomes a tool, sort of. So here you can see some of the. This was at CES. So here you can see the respiration sensor and the proximity sensors under her chin. So basically, if somebody walks up to her who is friendly, she's able to breathe in and breathe out, and the system goes into a more friendly mode. And this is again talking about the 12 states of behavior, making your designs complex, but also making the systems that I'm creating, getting a co-behavior and a co-control between the body and their environment in a good and in a gentle way. We also created some spider bots who are doing really well at the Maker Faire. If you guys don't know the Maker Faire, it's an amazing place where kids and families come together and makers, and you make stuff and you look at stuff and you make more stuff. Yeah, that is something that I want to go through in the last part that I'm going to talk to you about. Is that I'm doing all this couture stuff, right? Like really high-end design, and it's pretty utopian because I like to see them as case studies. The other thing that is really important for me are children, and I do a lot regarding to getting girls into coding and to get kids into technology. And my designs are very much liked with children because they're pretty funny. One thing that I really like that I just want to point out is sometimes you get like fan mail, so like you get these sketches of people who are like just liking the dress and like they're giving stuff. This was another one that was like a really small one. It was like I also like not a mature person, but I really like the effort, like the horns sort of and all that stuff. So the other thing is that these kids were actually making it from Lego, and isn't this fantastic? Like, I don't know, like you guys played with Lego, right? Like, Lego is a pretty difficult medium. And then making this dress, which is like, you can really see here, the geometry, the balls, the sensors, like all that stuff. And they put the system on the back and just like, it's basically really the dress being translated in Lego. And I think that is so cool. Like, I got in contact with them because they were their team was afraid, like, oh, I'm sorry that we copied your design. And I was like, no, this is amazing. This is like the most cool thing ever. That they were trying to just, really explore and to see how this dress could be in a medium as Lego. And so that's really cool. So I do a lot regarding to education. I do a lot regarding to doing things open source. Like, don't keep things for yourself. Like, that's bullshit. Like, just see how you can care, how you can share, how you can open source things, how you can help people, how you can whatever. If I'm in different cities, I travel around a lot, and I also don't sleep, so I have a lot of time. So what I do is I go to the local maker spaces and I just give a talk, or I say like, hey, can I learn your kid something? Or hey, do you want to see how a LED is blinking? Not asking money or anything like that, because I get my money from the companies. And what I do for the makerspace and all that stuff, I do more for charity, because, like, for example, the kids that are growing up are the new designers, they're the new engineers, they're the new cooks, they're the new creators, sort of, that are arising now, you know. And that is something that is really important for me. So also education. So this is, for example, one of the projects that I did in trying to work together with Lego, how we can see to make, sort of more fashionable thing, and we put it on Instructables.
To share with you now. These mechatronic wings won't help you take flight, but they will make you look super awesome. They're made out of Lego, and they've got infrared and ultrasonic sensors that are programmed to react to objects that come near them. The sensors work kind of like bats, bouncing high frequencies to detect objects up to 2.5 meters away. I kind of want these things. And the good news is you can make your own. They're the work of fashion tech pioneer Anouk Wipprecht, and she's recently posted a step-by-step guide on how to build them. So just head on over to our Twitter feed and you can have your own mechatronic wing.
So you can see that, like, we were like building them. Some other people made like really big wings and small wings and all that stuff. Like, there's a little bit community out there that's like making wings at the moment. So I hope that that everybody at one point is a statement, like Lego, it's like Mindstorms, technical Lego mechatronic wings, sort of. And what I try to do then is I try to put it on Instructables or something, so people can try to make it themselves. Maybe not this, but they take the idea of maybe a part of it and put that in their own system, you know, or it just makes them explore. So that is something that is really important to me. And I think I have, like, I'm almost through my time. I can tell about the other 30 dresses, but I would not keep you up because you guys want to party. So for this, my last thing is, what I think is important. Think of your system, interaction design, like all that stuff. Also education, making things, sharing things with your community and all that stuff. The other thing is I'm a maker, so also to celebrate. So for this reason, I took one of my dresses, and Casey was so friendly to show it. So it's a dress, and it's a cocktail dress, which is actually making a cocktail. So Casey here has a little a front piece, and she also has a peristaltic pump in the back. So The peristaltic pump is from Party Robotics, who are really awesome. So if you want to check them out, and the front piece and the back piece are like 3D printed. I created these dresses for Cirque du Soleil. What you don't know about Cirque du Soleil is like you guys know them as theater and shows. What they also have is a club in Las Vegas, and they also have a restaurant in Ibiza where these dresses are walking around. And this dress is serving cocktails. The one that you see up here to the left, it's shooting bubblegum. So that's funny. But so these dresses are walking around. I have more dresses, also golden dresses walking around, and they all do something different. So yeah, the dress that Casey's wearing here is a cocktail dress, a real cocktail dress. And by the push of the button, she's actually serving you a cocktail. And that is also the end of my talk. The cocktail is gin and tonic, so I want to invite all of you to come to the front to join me on stage and have a little cocktail party before the after party starts. So, thank you. Cheers.